The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. This is Rebecca with WFIA. Thank you for taking time today to join our webinar on e-commerce solutions. As I do with every webinar, I'm going to keep everyone in listen-only mode, so you'll be muted on our end. But just as a reminder, we do open it up for questions, so please make sure that you are also have clicked the mute button on your end so that when we do open it up, we're not getting background noise. If you have questions during the presentation, you can use the questions panel to enter your question in, or click on the little button that raises your hand so that we know that you'll have a question, and we'll make sure that we open it up for that. And with that, I am going to hand it over to Jan.
Good afternoon, and thank you everybody for joining us. I'm Jan G., President and CEO of your association. And as we've gone through this COVID-19 and our webinars every week with our members to help you struggle through this, we have heard from some of our retailers that they really need to better understand the options for e-commerce and find something that is a more permanent fixture in their everyday shopping services. So we're extremely pleased to have Deanna Medina, who's with Inmar Intelligence. Deanna was scheduled to be one of our Connect conference at our Connect conference doing a workshop on this very subject matter, and we had to cancel that in the spring because of COVID. And so she offered to go ahead and do this for us as a webinar. And as we've had more and more questions from our members, we put together actually 2 weeks of webinars on the topic. So Deanna today is going to cover the 5 strategies of ensuring future digital commerce growth in your stores. And after she does that, she's going to talk about Inmar Intelligence and the services that they offer. Then next week on the 24th at 2 p.m., we will have Rosie presenting their service, and they'll have a couple of their retailers from our state that are using the services to talk about their views on it. And then that will be followed the same day by IGA. They have now opened up their e-commerce services to non-IGA stores. So Deanna, we are so pleased and grateful to you to kind of kick this off and help our members understand how they should be looking at e-commerce for their own platforms. Thanks very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jen. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you and you know the members today. And I hope that the content that we have put together is helpful in in the process of thinking about the future of your e-commerce strategies. And then so I'm going to focus mainly on those little bits of information and some learnings that we have observed and had through this process. And then at the end of that session, after we answer questions and address any of your comments, we can take a quick look at the Inmar solution. And of course, there could always be an opportunity for follow-ups as needed. So again, thanks so much for your time today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself first, and then we'll get right into the content that we put together for you. So again, I'm Deanna Medina. I am originally from Bogota, Colombia, but have had the pleasure and the great opportunity of living in this country for the last 10 years. And I am based in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. So that's where the headquarters are for Inmar Intelligence. I currently have the role of VP of Retail Transformation at Inmar, and this essentially means that I have the pleasure of working with our grocery retail partners in developing strategies to help them advance their digital commerce initiatives, as well as promotional and loyalty initiatives that we also support with our solutions. And prior to joining Inmar, I had the wonderful opportunity of being a retailer myself. I spent almost 8 years with Lowe's Foods in a variety of roles, but primarily in marketing and e-commerce. And I did many different things around, shopper marketing, loyalty, traditional media, digital media, and then my last role at Lowe's Foods was actually specifically around the e-commerce program, very much focused on merchandising and the overall kind of guest or customer experience for our shoppers. So that's just a little bit of background about myself, so that you know that that I've had the opportunity to also be on your side of the conversation. And so today I want to talk to you about some of the things that we at Inmar have identified as potential strategies or potential opportunities to ensure that your digital programs and your e-commerce programs continue to grow and prosper during COVID and after COVID, and as we look at changes in customer behavior after this very rapid adoption of digital commerce. So we're going to be talking about these 5 key topics, and as we go through the discussion, we will have some points in the conversation where we will take a quick break and ask that you send us any questions or send us any comments so that we can address those as we go. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the strategic foundation for your online program. We are going to talk about how you think about your investments, and many retailers with their kind of the growth, the exponential growth in sales and activity, there might be some opportunities to leverage some of that extra cash for some very strategic investments. So we will talk about that. We will talk about the power of leveraging your CPG partnerships to continue to grow your digital initiatives, and then thinking through, the digital experience for your shoppers and how you think about influencing that experience from end to end, and then paying special attention, especially, because of this phenomenon of COVID-19, we need to be paying a lot of attention to these first-time online shoppers that may be engaging with you for the first time, or you're getting ready to service them, and it's, we need to start thinking about how we engage them going forward. So let's start with the basics, right? So many times when we talk about e-commerce, it is very common to, start thinking about the technology and the digital experience and the interaction with the consumer, in a digital world or online. But sometimes what gets somewhat overlooked, and sometimes retailers wait too long to start thinking about these critical components of the strategy, and these are around areas like your marketing, merchandising, and operational aspects of your solution that are very critical to the long-term success of e-commerce. And throughout this presentation, you'll see that on the screen. I'm going to have some statistics or numbers that are relevant, as well as some examples. But in terms of the marketing and merchandising strategy, just to start with that, if you think about how you manage your marketing and merchandising for the in-store environment, some of the strategies that you implement around pricing or assortment, or even your operational efficiencies, when you start thinking about the online experience, some of these strategies need to be adapted to the role of the online channel and how you want to go to market with that particular channel of conversion, how you want to engage your shopper. So it's really thinking about all of those dimensions, not just the technology, but going through a review of how your merchandising strategy needs to be different to support the online initiatives, how your marketing has to start evolving to address the needs of a digital shopper. So all of those are very important components of the experience. And here I'm just listing one example that is very relevant in this very challenging time, which is, do you have a full understanding of how your systems in operations and merchandising, how those systems are supporting your online experience? And, we have a quick example here about out of stock items or inventory information. This is a very critical aspect of the online experience. And as we know, COVID has kind of increase the challenges for us to be able to serve our customers. And we know that customers are expecting reliable and accurate information when they go to our website. So we need to start thinking about how the systems that support our inventory management, that support the internal information, are also going to start being leveraged for much more than the internal operations. And that's just one quick example of how some of those strategies that work today for the in-store environment may not be the perfect fit for the online the online experience that you're trying to build. Then as we start looking at some opportunities that we have in front of us to invest in new tools, invest in new technology, to continue to grow our digital programs, this is again very common that people are going to be faced with lots of different options, lots of different solutions and tools out there that could contribute to the growth of that digital program. And my recommendation, and what Inmar has found through the research that we have done, is that we really need to think through these with a very shopper-centric perspective, right? So how do we think about solutions and technology in a way that is going to benefit our consumer, in a way that is going to be relevant to that particular shopper that we're serving? And it's not necessarily going after the new shiny object or the very advanced technology, but rather going after the solutions that are going to help us achieve that level of engagement with the shopper, and that are going to help us follow that shopper through every single touch point, because we know that they're not only going to be shopping with us online, they're also going to be shopping in store. So how do we make that transition for them easier, and how do we allow or enable ourselves to be able to follow their behavior across all of the channels? And this is critical because, as we know, even when shoppers are coming to the store and kind of continuing to purchase items in the physical location, there's still a very large amount of activities and planning that is happening online or with the interaction, through the interaction with digital tools. And we want to make sure that we're giving them the right level of information and easy to use tools that are going to put the control and the power in their hands to interact with our brand in a way that makes sense to them. And then, as we think about prioritizing those engagements, right, or those investments, sorry, it's really about, where do we find resources that can help us advance those digital initiatives, right? So, and when we think about the marketing aspect, for example, and many of you probably went through this experience during these very challenging times, we had to kind of adjust on the fly and figure out how to reach that consumer that might not be paying as much attention to a paper circular, or people are, not necessarily comfortable interacting with more traditional media channels anymore. They don't want to be, getting things in the mail or interacting with us in that manner. And because they are shopping online all the time, we now need to be in front of them when they are thinking about where to go to get their groceries or where to place an online order. So many retailers are now shifting their marketing investments and figuring out how they start promoting their retail brand through digital channels. And these, of course, includes social media. It includes programmatic digital media, includes, of course, your email initiatives as well. But it's really thinking about these traditional, marketing spend that we typically put against either the weekly circular, which continues to be a very important tool, or even radio or TV or other forms of advertising, when we need to also be thinking about that shift in consumer behavior and thinking about how we're leveraging tools like social media and programmatic media to drive traffic to our e-commerce experience and the digital tools that we have for our shoppers. And then there's really that element of the partnership with the CPG brand, right? And this is an area where Inmar, has been playing for a very long time. We help kind of initiate those collaborations between CPGs and retailers, and we truly believe in the power of having a very tight collaboration between trading partners, because we feel that that's going to ultimately benefit the consumer and put in the hands of the consumer all of the great resources that both CPG and retail brands are working on. So a very simple example of that is, the recipe content or any type of branding and inspirational content that the CPGs are investing heavily in producing. So we know CPGs invest millions of dollars in creating recipes, meal planning guidelines, or inspirational content that they then distribute via social media, digital media, and different channels. So one of the things that is, we're observing in the space is that there's a lot more emphasis in putting together programs and tools that will allow the consumer to quickly plan their meals, quickly have access to recipe content, very much nutritionally driven content where the consumer can make selections based on their own needs, based on the different types of diets that they are following, and they have access to a lot more information today in terms of the items that are going to meet those requirements for them or for their families. And the CPG brand has a very important role to play here because, as I said, they are investing heavily not only in research and understanding consumer trends, but in producing that content. So really thinking about incorporating some of that recipe content or just general brand content into your online experience is going to make the experience so much more engaging and just a richer experience overall for your consumer. And then, of course, there's always, hold on one second, I think I lost my slide. Here we go. There's always other opportunities for you to put more value in front of your consumer. And that could be in the form of digital promotions, digital coupons, special deals that your CPG brand may be sponsoring. So one thing that we have seen a lot of increased engagement with is all of these initiatives around funding the e-commerce service for the consumer. So for example, if you go to your retailer's website and you buy $20 worth of a specific brand or a specific group of items, you may get the online service for free, or you may get free delivery. So all of these kind of promotional constructs that your CPG brands can help fund are going to also help you increase that engagement with your online initiatives. So it is very important to have that tight collaboration with your CPG partners to bring that value to your consumer. So your consumer is no longer necessarily making decisions based on what's on sale at the shelf and looking at the shelf tags and the pricing in the store or the signage or the special displays. How do you create some of that opportunity for engagement outside of the in-store experience and translate that type of value into what they can access with your brand through the online experience? And one last point that I will make around the CPG component, it is also about understanding the value of your digital assets, right? Because as we think about the transition from the in-store experience to online, we know that in-store will continue to be there, but as online grows, we also need to be thinking about ways of transitioning some of that CPG branding from the in-store experience to online. So in the same way that you're working with your brands today and giving them an opportunity to have a special display in the store, or an end cap, or preferential shelf space that they will have, or any type of kind of paid placement in your physical store, you need to be thinking about how that is going to be translated to the online experience and how you're going to start generating some of those opportunities for your CPG partners to interact with your shoppers in a more direct way and in a kind of promoted way through your digital properties. So understanding the value of your customer audience, understanding the value of your digital properties, your website, your digital assets is going to put you in a position to have those strategic conversations with your CPG partners and start creating programs that are going to bring some of that funding back to your digital programs. So with that, I think we have reached the first section for Q&A. So I'm going to make a quick pause here and see if anyone has any questions or comments.
There are no questions in the question box, so I
Okay.
unmuted in case anyone has any they'd like to ask now.
Okay, well, if there are no questions, we can keep going, and we have more room at the end for more Q&A. So I'm just gonna keep going through these content, and then we'll stop again and see if anyone has any comments or additional questions. So the other strategy that we think about is very much centered around the consumer experience. And what we have observed specific to e-commerce is that in many cases, with this kind of accelerated growth of e-commerce, and this tendency of shoppers just being more comfortable with interacting with retail brands online, many shoppers were rushing to be able to establish an online presence. And through that kind of struggle or that rush to try to get something up and running, many retailers ended up going with third-party solutions, marketplace type solutions, experiences that are very much outside of their control and are not as closely related to their brand experience. So one of the things that we want to make sure we're helping our retailers think through is how are you thinking about the overall experience for your shopper from the moment they are researching you online all the way to checkout on a website and to receiving their order at their house if it's for delivery, or picking up the order in the store if it's for click and collect. So I'm thinking about all of those elements of the experience is going to help you understand how to customize the experience for them, right? So in addition to the data that you will be able to access by collecting insights on what items they are shopping for, or they're buying in your store, or how many times during the month they come to the store. With the growth of e-commerce, you also now have the possibility of looking at data around the way your shoppers are behaving online. So are they looking for specific recipes online? What happens after they find a recipe? Are they going directly from a recipe to your website? Do they have the opportunity to get to your website easily? What are the pages that they spend more time on? Are they even looking at the deals and the weekly ad before they add items to their cart? Have they added items to their cart that then they remove? Have they spent too much time browsing and then they never finalize the order? All of those type of online behaviors now represent a great value for you, and with the use of analytics and kind of business intelligence tools, you can make sense of all of that data, make sense of all of that behavior that you're observing, and start targeting shoppers with the right level of promotional incentives, with the right messaging, with the right content to continue to keep them engaged. So it's a lot more data that you now have access to improve the experience beyond what you are able to do today. And then again, when we think about the experience, we also need to think about how the shopper is looking at every single touch point, and what is the perception that they have of your brand and of the overall experience after they interact with you, right? So with all of that data that we're capturing, are we able to make the experience so much easier for them? For example, if we know that this particular shopper is always buying this set of items, they always buy chicken breast and red wine and I don't know, spinach. Can we use all of those insights that we have about what they buy and maybe start suggesting recipes or meal deals or meal kits that we're selling in our stores? Whatever the case might be, can we use some of those insights to guide the consumer through the experience and make it a lot more memorable and a lot easier for them to go through? Can we inspire them to add a new item in the basket, to try something new, to try a new category that they may have not engaged with in the past? So all of those opportunities to touch, to kind of give them the right amount of information and the right messaging at every touch point is going to be critical in generating that long-term loyalty from those shoppers. And then the last point is really about all of these shoppers that are shopping you for the first time. And we know this because we know that COVID prompted that need for people to interact online. So if they were a little bit resistant to the change, or they weren't sure that they could interact with your brand online, COVID kind of removed that barrier. So if you are not offering online today, I'm sure you're considering it, and it's probably part of your high priority items. And for those that did it for the first time during COVID or are very new to the space, everyone is really seeing an influx of new shoppers through those online experiences. And of course, during the crisis, we're taking care of the basics. We're making sure that we can, fulfill the orders, and we can, add the items to the cart that they need and take care of their basic needs. But as we kind of come out of the crisis and things stabilize a little bit and we're able to breathe and really process what has happened, we can start thinking about ways to improve that experience for them. Can we show them a little bit more about our brand? So maybe this is the first time that they're shopping with us and it was by accident because they couldn't find what they needed from their typical retailer, or whatever the case might be. Can we introduce our brand in a different way? Can we tell them more about our offerings and what makes us different? And as they are getting used to using the online service for the first time, can we hold their hand and show them how to do it? Give them instructions, give them video tutorials, even maybe for some critical, shoppers that are very important to your business. Can you pick up the phone and help them navigate the site and create an account? And, not every strategy is gonna work in every case, but it's really thinking about how you make your brand more approachable, even though you're interacting with them through a screen or through a phone. So it's really thinking about how you help them through that process and how you show them a little bit more about your brand. And then it is very, very important that we think about how the shopper is thinking about the service overall. So not just the experience online, but every single element of that service experience. So are they finding that multiple items are out of stock, which is expected during the crisis, but after the crisis, is that improving, or are they still having a lot of issues with out of stock items? Or maybe with the substitutions that the store is deciding to make for them, are those acceptable? What is the quality of the items that they are getting at home? Do they trust the person that is picking the items for them in the store or delivering those items to their houses? So all of those elements of the experience need to be part of your strategic approach, because even if a third party is doing that for you, if you're not in full control of the entire experience, in the eyes of your shopper, they are still interacting with your brand. So they expect you to take care of that experience for them. So it's very important to start understanding how customers feel about every step in the process, and what are some of the strategies or the actions that you can take towards improving that experience for them in every aspect of that journey. So those were the 5 strategies that I wanted to share with you today. I'm going to pause here to see if there are some questions. And then in the meantime, while we wait for questions, I'm going to go ahead and switch to a different screen so that I can give you a quick overview of Inmar solution.
So there are no questions in the question box, and people are unmuted. So if they have questions, they can ask them now.
Perfect.
Hi, this is Lori Brown. I'm with Post Consumer Brands. I don't have a question, but thank you for the information. I was just going to make a comment about, from what we're seeing with a lot of the new online shoppers, there's a lot of people in a surprisingly older demographic that are shopping online, which is surprising and wonderful, and just how many of them will continue to shop online and not go back to just the regular bricks and mortar, but become online, offline shoppers.
Absolutely, that is definitely an interesting trend through all of these, because as we know, some population segments or demographic groups that we traditionally have seen as slower to adopt the technology or adopt the new offerings are quickly transitioning because of the situation and because of the needs that they now have. But it's going to be, as to your point, it's going to be a real challenge for retailers and brands to keep that engagement going. And how many of them are actually going to go back to the store for every single shopping trip. And my guess is that probably most shoppers, now that that barrier has been removed, they may still come to the store because they enjoy the experience, but they will definitely consider e-commerce as another outlet that adds that level of convenience that they may not have with the in-store experience. So I think it generates that very interesting opportunity for us to continue to engage with shoppers across all conversion channels. And we know overall, based on the data that we have analyzed, that e-commerce is definitely a loyalty driver. We know that people that engage with your brand online, with your retail brand online, they are more likely to be giving you a much bigger share of wallet, because they are creating that deeper connection with you, and they are establishing a previously purchased list, and they have their favorites on the website, and it becomes kind of that loyalty building effect that I think it's going to be very, very important for retailers to think about and leverage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other comments or questions before I share my screen and tell you a little bit more about Inmar's solution? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share. And Rebecca, can you let me know if you can see my screen?
I can, yes.
Great. So hopefully you're seeing the Corner Shop website here. So I'm going to take you through a very quick demo of the solution. But before I do that, I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on Inmar's solution and why we decided to get in the e-commerce space. We know that there are a lot of solutions out there, but we really saw a need for us to step in and kind of take a different approach to it. And one of the things that I always like to mention before I even get into the technology piece is that, as I mentioned during the presentation, we think about e-commerce as a lot more than just a technology tool. We think that there are so many other aspects of the strategy that need to be in place for you to be successful long term. And we pride ourselves in being able to provide that strategic support to our clients. We have been in the grocery business for over 40 years, and we have experts in many different areas of of the retail operation. We have experts in pricing, assortment, operational efficiencies, marketing, media, and we think that combining all of those strategies is what really positions our retail partners to grow and to continue to expand those digital offers for their shoppers. So what we did, a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, is we went through a full review of all of the tools that are available in the market, from the third-party tools all the way to, white label solutions of all sizes. And we try to understand kind of what the gaps were, where we saw opportunities for us to engage with retailers in a different way. And we found two key elements. We found that the e-commerce program was hard to execute and to scale for the retailer because there were lots of issues around profitability and around the ability of making money with e-commerce. So that's where we kind of incorporated that service component that goes through elements like, pricing optimization, assortment optimization. How do you think about different pricing and promotional constructs exclusively for the online channel? How do you think about the evolution of your fulfillment model? So you may start with click and collect, and then you want to go to delivery, and you may start with an operation that is based in your physical store location, and you may transition to a dark store model or a warehouse-based model. And we want to be able to help the retailers through that evolution. And we have a team of experts that we deploy every time that we have an engagement with a retailer to go through all of these steps and kind of create a playbook that is going to allow the retailer to execute on this vision. So that was the first element that we saw. And then the other element that we wanted to solve for was the customer or the consumer experience. We thought that there were a lot of opportunities to improve the experience and to make it a lot more than just a product catalog on a website. We wanted to make sure that we were incorporating a lot of the merchandising and story selling opportunities that you have access to in the physical world. So in the same way that you create beautiful displays, or you do a lot of upselling and cross-selling in the store to get that additional item in the basket, we wanted to create a lot of those elements in the experience as well, so that shoppers had an opportunity to interact with your brand in a different way. Excuse me, to interact with your brand in a different way online. So what you see here is an example of a website that we built using our technology. So this is the online store for Corner Shop. And the first thing that I'm going to highlight here is that this is built with an API first approach. So one of the issues that we saw as we were looking at other technologies in the market is that they are very restrictive. The retailer has to kind of pretty much fit in a box, and you have the ability to change a logo or to change the colors, but there's not a lot of flexibility to create the experience that you want. And we definitely want to offer that turnkey aspect. So if all you want to do is just give us your logo and your colors, and you want us to set up a very simple framework for you, we can do that. But if you want to take the experience to the next level, you want to integrate it into some of the other solutions that you already have in place, we have the technology structure to allow you to do that. And again, this is 100% a white label solution. Inmar is in the background. We don't take any of the credit. Your brand forward, and we're just in the back kind of supporting you through that process and supporting this experience. But we want you to have the flexibility to tell your brand story and to highlight that brand throughout the experience in the way that makes sense to you. And the other thing that I'm going to mention, just by looking at this page, we are on a journey to try to combine the commerce aspect with the content aspect. So we want to go beyond just a list of items. And what you have here is essentially just very much item driven, and you have different ways to configure this page. But slowly and piece by piece, we want to start introducing more of the inspirational content, more of the opportunities to really see, kind of a different way of presenting the content. And I'm going to give you a quick example on an execution that we had for Cinco de Mayo, just as an example. And it's really creating these online destinations, or these spaces or room on your website to tell a story with the images, with the content, with the items that you're selecting. One of the things that we struggled with as we were doing the research on the different platforms that are available is that the retailer, the merchandising group, the marketing group, they don't have a lot of flexibility to create curations of items, to place those items in the order that makes sense. And all of this is not, of course, making sense right now because this is just a demo site, but just to illustrate, there is a lot of flexibility for the retailer to create pages and then position banners or list of items or carousels of items in different places on the page, so that you can start telling a story with those items that you are placing in front of your consumer. We also have the concept of a digital circular, and this is probably not active in the demo environment yet, but in the future, what you're going to be able to see is, every single item that is, is on sale that week, it's going to be able to be located under a digital circular, and it's going to be, kind of just classified by department or by category, and making it very easy for the consumer to just, navigate that circular in a digital format. But also long-term, what we're intending to do is to have a fully clickable PDF circular where, as you're going through the deals that are, kind of available to your shoppers during the week, you can add those from the PDF of the digital circular directly into your cart. And of course, we incorporate every single aspect of kind of the pricing and the promotional content, and you can add items directly from a product tile, or if you go to the product detail page, you have the opportunity to also add items from there, see multiple images of that particular item that you're looking at. And this is where the CPG content becomes so relevant, because you can leverage any type of content that CPG is able to contribute. You can add, notes to your order to make sure that your shopper knows your preference, or they know exactly what you're looking for a specific item. So it's really trying to make that experience very, very seamless for the consumer, and giving it a visual appeal that it's just going to make it easier for them to navigate. You can also add items by the pound. Of course, this is just kind of a joke that our developers always use, which is they have Cheetos by the pound, because why wouldn't you buy Cheetos by the pound? So, but it's just to illustrate the example there that you can also have by each or by the pound. And then, of course, one of the great things about the Inmar solution is that you're going to be able to incorporate the digital coupon aspect, right? The promotions that we have available as part of our digital coupons program. Those are going to be available to shoppers through the online experience, and it's going to be seamlessly connected to the experience. So if you're looking at this particular coupon and you want to see what items are available for purchase, you can add those from the coupon gallery. You can clip the coupons. And then also, as you're looking at items, when you're searching for items, if there's a coupon associated with that particular item, you're going to be able to see that and access that through the experience. And then long term, what we're working on, and this is almost ready for prime time, we're looking at ways to also remind the consumer about those offers as they're getting ready to check out. So as they get closer to that point of decision, they are going to be able to go to checkout and see all of the digital offers that have been applied to their order, but also any offers that they may have missed, and they need to they have an opportunity to go ahead and clip before they check out, so we maximize the value. We also have these opportunities to create custom pages before the checkout, so that as they are navigating the site and getting ready to check out, if there are any promotions or any CPG sponsored items that we want to put in front of them, we can actually have that interaction with them before they get to checkout. And in the checkout process, of course, we also have all of these prompts and these alerts that are going to help the consumer make decisions. So in this case, we're saying, this time slot is no longer available, so we give them the opportunity to select one that works for them. And the logic that the site is using actually also allows them to see if there are any type of cart conflicts. So if you, for example, if you're buying this beer and it is Sunday at 9 a.m. and your county doesn't allow for alcohol sales before noon on Sundays, then you have the opportunity to alert the consumer about that conflict so that they can resolve that conflict before they check out. That could also apply to items that are only available at certain times of day, or any type of restrictions that you have around your inventory based on rules and regulations. You also have an opportunity to allow substitutions, and you can do that for all the items, or if you want to do it at an item level, you can also select items where you don't want to accept substitutions because you have a particular brand preference or whatever the reason might be. As I said, you have an opportunity to review the offers and the coupons that are applicable to that particular purchase, and then kind of update all of your information, your payment information, which we're working on different payment methods to include EBT and to include pay at pickup if that's an option that you want to offer for your consumers, and then making it very, very easy for the consumer to check out and to see, how much they're paying, how much they're saving, and really calling out those savings for the consumer. And once the offer is placed or the order is placed, it's really giving them the opportunity to look at the details on that order, track the progress of the order, see in what state that order is, so that we remove a little bit of the anxiety of not knowing what's happening with that order. And then even after it is placed, before the store starts kind of addressing the needs of the customer or starts the process of fulfilling that order, you have the opportunity to modify the order, maybe change the quantities, add a note for a particular item, save your changes, and it's going to show you any changes in the prices. And then even if you decide that you don't have to modify something existing, but you actually want to add a brand new item to your order, you also have the opportunity to do that without losing the context of that specific existing order, so that you know exactly what order you're adding these items to, and you don't generate two orders by mistake. So all of those kind of little elements, features here and there are meant to improve that experience, but also are meant to give the retailer an opportunity to engage that consumer in a more effective way, and to provide a much more efficient and much more inspiring experience for them. And in the topic of inspiration, I don't think I mentioned this, you also have, of course, the opportunity to expose your shoppers to different recipes, And as you would expect, the recipes are not only going to have the instructions and the ingredients listed at any type of basic information that you want to see on those, but they also highlight the items that are associated with that recipe, and it's going to divide those ingredients into pantry items as well as core ingredients or main products for the recipe, so that the consumer can easily add those items to the cart and separate those pantry items that sometimes they just don't need to buy because they already have them at home. So that's a nice little feature that we have around recipes. And then of course, once they are ready to start cooking, if they want to look at it from from this screen and kind of enter cooking mode, they can be checking off the items or each ingredient or each step in the process in a very clean view. So if they're using their phone or their tablet in the kitchen, it's much easier for them to go through that experience. We also now have the ability to search for recipes as well as to mark recipes as favorites. So I don't think that's something I can show you right now, but just know that we're working towards those enhancements. And as I said, the recipes become a great opportunity to collaborate with your brands as well as to create additional opportunities for you to inspire your shoppers. So I know I went very quickly through that, but I want to make a couple more clarification points. What I'm showing you today is just the web version of our tool, but we actually have not only this mobile optimized website that will adapt to the size of the screen, but we also have native applications for both iOS and Android. So we have fully native experiences that were specifically built for those native environments. And in addition to the shopping experience, we also have both an admin tool, an administration tool where you can manage a lot of the content that you saw here. You can build pages, you can build item collections, you can look at your item catalog, make any changes to that. You can look at orders, customer information, all of those elements that are so important to the operational side of your business. We give you the administration tools to be able to do that. And then we also have a fulfillment application, which is what the stores are going to use to fulfill the order. So it's a store picker application that is also run on mobile devices, on Android mobile devices, and is what is going to allow your in-store employee to go through the shopping process very efficiently. So I just wanted to highlight that those are other components of the technological element of the solution. And as I said, we take a very strategic, kind of strategic support approach where we are helping you build a playbook, helping you figure out how you transition from a different tool to our tool, and how you take your experience to the next level. That service element and consulting element is very critical to the success of your program, and we take a lot of care and kind of effort in building that in collaboration with you. So with that, I'm going to pause and see if there are any questions for me.
There is one question in the question box. It says, do you partner with delivery companies?
We have, I would say, a technology partnership with delivery companies, and what that means is that we have integrations in place for you to be able to leverage third-party delivery companies for last mile services. So we partner with companies like Shipt or DoorDash, as well as Uber Eats. Those are three that come to mind. We may already have others in the pipeline or already established, but those connection points already exist. So if you need to send an order to one of those companies for them to do the last mile service, you can do that with our tools.
So Deanna, do you interface with Instacart yet?
No, we do not have any partnerships in place. I mean, the Instacart model, as you may know, is very different, and they own kind of every aspect of that experience, and it's very much, I know they also work with some retailers from a white label perspective, and they build exclusive sites for retailers, but at the end of the day, they very much still take that marketplace approach, and our intent is to be 100% shopper-centric and retailer-centric We want the retailer to be able to own your experience, own your data, own your customer, and we don't want to get in the middle of that. So we want to just be your support technology and platform in the back end and let you continue to interact and build that relationship with your shopper.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Are there any other questions or hands raised or anything, Rebecca?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm going to thank Deanna very, very much. Very informative, and your app is very, very attractive. A lot of great services on it, Deanna. And do we have a last slide that has your contact information on it? So as we record this and then post it on our website, people are able to look it up. There it is. So great. There's Deanna's email. So if you want a more in-depth presentation on the MR services, you're able to contact her directly. I would like to do a really quick survey, one question before we close out today. And the survey is going to pop up on your screen, and it's going to ask you, in effect, it follows up on the question I just asked Deanna. As you know, we're going to have a presentation from Rosie, one from IGA. Question is, are you interested in learning more about Instacart? Yes or no? We have the opportunity to schedule them if that's something of interest. So if you'll let us know if that's of interest. The other question is, are there any e-commerce opportunities out there that you would like an introduction to? Our role is to introduce you to the high-level presentation that Deanna just did of the services, and then let you get more in depth with the company that you believe is right for your store. So let me know at JAN-GEE@wa-food-ind.org. You know how to find me on our website, and let me know if there's any other e-commerce opportunities you'd like us to put a presentation together for it. So Deanna, thank you very much. You went to a lot of great work to present this. I wish we would have had you in person at our Connect event, but COVID-19 wasn't going to let that happen. This is great, and it will be posted, like I said, on our website. So I'm sure more people will be reaching in, looking at your presentation. And
awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time and the great questions and comments, and you know, the opportunity to present this content. And I will be more than happy to offer more details to anyone that is interested.
You bet.
Hey, Jan, we did get one last question. It says, has anyone heard of Shop Hero? And how do we get info? How do we get cost info? Just email Diana directly?
Yes, if you need any additional information on our tools, services, pricing, yes, just send me a note and I will be happy to answer those questions for you.
And then, but there seemed like there were two questions in there. Was one about shop?
Yeah, she asked, has anyone heard of Shop Hero, which I am assuming is a separate question from how to get a hold of Diana.
Deanna, yeah.
And I have not heard anything about them, so I can't help with that one.
I haven't heard of them either, but that doesn't mean we can't do some research. So Rebecca, do you have the proper spelling of that in their question?
Yeah, I do.
So that we can follow up? Okay, yeah, we will follow up and see if we believe it's a reputable firm that warrants your time on a webinar. Okay. Well, awesome. Everybody have a great rest of the afternoon. Deanna, thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Have a
Deanna.
good one. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.